Hello, and welcome to Tim's Reflections from Ohio, a YouTube video series where we've been talking about and reflecting on parables that Jesus told, as well as just general teachings from the entire Bible. And today, our reflection is going to be a continuation of what we talked about last week. And we had talked about one of the attributes of love, of God, which is love. And we talked about the importance of love, but I was thinking during the week, we need to talk about, because sometimes it's easy to struggle to love people, to love others. And how do we do that? And so I want us to talk about a little bit more about love this week. And our reflection is going to come from two passages. The first one is in 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. Again, 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. And we read these words, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God. And everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love." We need to make sure that we know God. If we're struggling to love other people, if we're struggling to love that coworker, that neighbor, maybe even a family member, a problem could be that we don't know God. Because it says, "He who does not love does not know God, for God is love." The other passage I want us to look at is in the book of Mark. And we'll be reading in Mark chapter 12, verses 28 through 31. Again, Mark 12, 28 through 31. And we read these words. "Then one of the scribes came, and having heard them reasoning together, perceiving that he had answered them well, asked him, 'Which is the first commandment of all?' Jesus answered him, 'The first of all the commandments is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. This is the first commandment. And the second like it is this: You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no greater commandment, There is no other commandment greater than these." So there's two commands here: to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and with all your strength. Jesus said that's the first commandment. And he said the second like it is this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There's our call to love God with everything in us. And then the second call to love our neighbor as ourselves. Sometimes it's easy to think, yeah, God's up there in heaven. I love God. But does our life show that we truly love God? That's the question. That's the question for each of us to answer. Does our life show evidence that we truly love God? I was thinking, how do we learn to love God? And I was remembering many years ago, I heard a sermon. And the sermon stuck with me because the pastor said that we love God the same way, or we learn to love God the same way we learn to love another person. Take it, maybe our spouse. How did we fall in love with them way back in the beginning for some of us, or more recently for others of us? Well, there are three things we did. We talked to them, we communicated with them, then we listened to them talk to us, and then we went places and did things together. So, translate that into our relationship with God. We talk to him through prayer. And then we listen to him talk to us through a couple of means. One is through his word. He speaks to us through his word. The other thing is sometimes he speaks to our minds. Sometimes he speaks directly to us. So we need to make sure that we're communicating with him by talking to him and praying and laying our needs out for him, our worries, our fears, our concerns. He wants to hear those things. He is that loving Father. He's not some distant Father up there in heaven who is busy with other things. And sorry, Tim, I don't have time for you today. I'm really busy with this other thing. No, it's not like that at all. He has all the time necessary to communicate with each one of us. So remember that. Those three things. Talk to him, listen to him speak to us. And again, he speaks to us through his word and then sometimes to our minds. And then lastly, by going places and doing things together. It may be something along the line of maybe going out and passing out some gospel tracts. It may be sharing, taking a meal to your neighbor who is elderly and who is in need. It may be helping out at the soup kitchen. It could be showing God's love in a multitude of different ways. You can, each one of us could come up with our own ways of doing that. So make sure that we're doing those things regularly, every day, sharing God's love, going places with him and doing things together, talking to him and listening to him talk to us. That's the way our relationship with another person, our spouse, our close friends, that's the way that they begin and continue. And that's the way our relationship with God will grow. I encourage you to be sure you're involved in these things regularly, daily talking to him, daily talking, listening to him talk to you, and then regularly. And you figure out what regularly means for you, but regularly going places and doing things with him. We'll leave it there today, and I encourage you to pray about these things, think about these things, and look at your life. Do I truly love God? And if the answer is yes, then think about this. What is it about my life that gives evidence of that fact? Last week I mentioned the fact that there's a Southern gospel song that says, if you don't love your neighbor, then you can't love God, then you don't love God. Think about that. Do we truly love our neighbor? And if the answer is no, we need to go to God. We need help, because Jesus said, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching the video today. As always, if you've been blessed, please hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so that you will receive notification as new videos come out in the future. And also, as always, remember this: God loves you. He loves you so much that he sent his son to die on that cross all those years ago so that you and I could have the opportunity to spend eternity in heaven with him one day. That's how much he loves us. Thank you so much. Have a blessed week.